Alright, I'm going to go over one, maybe two more things here. And the first thing is going to be creation of a power-up. And that means we are going to make a power-up. Let's say we make a glove power-up that will, bounce the ball back when it hits the player. Typically, if the player gets hit by the ball, they get stunned. But if they have this glove power-up on, eventually we may want the glove power-up to be able to catch the ball and throw it. But for now, let's do something a little simpler. So what we're going to do is I'm going to take a power-up that we already have, like gold. I'm going to duplicate it, and I'm going to move it. I'm going to move it to, like, let's say here so we can test it. Right here is fine. Okay, I'm going to take off the animator. Let's just remove that. The money script we'll take that off. It will still have a box collider on it. We want all of our power-ups to be the same size. Let me see if I have a glove somewhere in here. Yeah. Okay, we'll use one of these. So let's use a glove. Let's find a good one. This is a nice one. It's a nice little glove. Alright, we'll use this glove. And we'll say, boom. It's way too big. That's okay. We'll change this to be 200. Apply. It's still pretty big, so let's go 250. Apply. And let's take a look at its box collider. It's still too big, so let's go ahead and make it 300. This isn't the greatest workflow, but we're working with it. That's fine for now. Let's call it glove power up. And then I'm going to go to prefabs. I'm going to drag this glove power up down into it just so we save this glove power up. Now anything we change with this glove power up, we're going to want to change here. Okay, so this glove power up tag, we're going to add a new tag, and we're going to call this tag power up. So we know that the player will, when it hits something called power up, the player will do something. Notably, it will destroy it. So it will quote unquote pick it up, but really it's just destroying it. Okay, so let's say for this video, the player picks up the glove and it shows in one of our UI elements down here. So in our UI element, let's make a couple of images. I'm going to go right click on our canvas. I'm going to go image. Sorry, it's surprisingly tougher to navigate with this little pointer. Okay, so let's put our image. I want like a nice bordered box, so let me see if I have one of those. Come on, let's see, UI. Nice bordered box. This looks fine for now. This isn't going to fit the rest of our aesthetic, but we are working under prototype terms for now. Ooh, here we go. This is a nice little frame right here. I like this one. Alright, so we're going to drop this into our sprites, and then we're going to make the image frame. Cool, looks like that. Oh, that's brilliant. Let's make it like 0.5 by 0.5, and let's put it, let's say the players, we're going to need to work on UI a lot, but let's say the players' information is down here. Okay, so this is the left power-up that you pick up. We'll call it P1 left power-up, and then duplicate that, and we'll make this one P1 right power up. Okay, P1 left power up, P1 right power up, and I shouldn't have duplicated this yet. We want another image on top of it. Okay, and that image is going to be the glove. Okay, and we will resize this so it makes sense to like 0.75, 0.75. Cool. And basically what we're going to do is actually, let's call it like L power up. Let's say 1 L power up for player 1 left power up. And then we're going to do the same. Let's just duplicate this and put it on the right one. And we'll call it 1 R power up. Let's zero out its X and its Y so it's centered. And for some reason this changed, but let's change it back. Perfect. We don't need to preserve aspect, that's fine. Okay, so now we have player 1 left power up, player 1 right power up, and these are going to be off until you pick up a power up. Then it's going to assign the power up sprite to this sprite, and it's going to actually turn it on. Okay, so let's turn them both on for now. Let's go to our UI manager, which we messed with last video, and let's actually get those. So 1 L power up, 1 R power up. So pause image, 1 L power up, 1 R power up. Oh, can we not give variables? Okay, we'll call it L power up 1, R power up 1. And we'll start this with lowercase for conventional means. And we'll do this the same for L power up, L power up 2, but we're not actually going to mess with those. So down here, let's duplicate this and say if its name is 1 L power up, then R power up 1 equals t.getComponentImage. Okay, same thing with 2 L power up, and we will assign that to this variable. Okay, so now we have these image variables that are being assigned to. We can turn these off, and we're probably going to want to put these in. Yeah, let's just make that function right now. Let's say void turn off start UI, and we'll put that in there. We'll actually just call turn off start UI, and we're also going to turn off R power up dot enabled equals false, L power up dot enabled equals false, and we'll do that for the left power ups as well. Okay, super. We actually don't have them yet. So, oh, we don't have the right ones yet, right? Correct, we don't have the right ones yet. So we will comment this out because it's going to give us a... Oh, snap. Okay, we meant to put these in L power up. Sorry. These need to go in L because they're the left player. Wait. I'm getting confused. Hold on. Right power up 1, right power up 2. How are we setting this up? This is 1 left power up, player 1 right power up. So we want player 1 left power up, player 1 right power up. So we want player 1 left power up, player 1 right power up. And so right power up 1, no, we want this to be left power up 1. So left power up of player 1. And this will be right power up of 1. Okay, so we want left 1 and right 1 to be commented out. So, or we want them to be in, and we want to comment out these other ones. Okay, sorry about that. We have player 1, right power up, player 1, left power up. Okay, now we go back and we can test it real quickly. Take a look at our UI manager to make sure that it gets these things and then turns them off. Press and play here. Cool. So it has it. It's right here. If I click it, it pops up in my inspector or my hierarchy. Okay. So let's get it so that if the player hits this glove, oh no, let's find the player. If the player hits this glove, we want it to show down here. Okay? We want it to show in the left image if the left image isn't full already. Okay, so we will go to our player script. Where's our player move? Player, and we'll go to on trigger enter. This is if it hits the ball. This is if it hits gold. And let's go to if collision dot compare tag power up. We're going to get the sprite. Sprite, we'll call it p up sprite equals collision dot get component sprite renderer dot sprite, and we will actually assign it to the UI manager. So we'll say if UI manager dot UIM. You know what? Let's just call it in a UI manager function instead. So we'll call UI manager dot UIM dot show or slot pickup sprite, and we'll give it pickup sprite. Okay, and of course this doesn't exist yet, so it's going to give us an error, but we will make it in a second. Okay, so and then the last thing that we want this to do when it collides with the power up is destroy collision dot game object. Destroy the power up. And here we are calling a UI manager function to slot in the sprite. Okay, the reason why I want to do it here is because it's going to get really messy. So let's go over to UI manager and create a function, slot pickup sprite. Okay, so we got this public void slot pickup sprite, and it takes in a sprite, and we'll say it's pickup sprite. Okay, so what it's going to do is it's going to check the left one and the right one, and we actually also we wanted to send in a player number as well. So int player num. Okay, so when we call this, where's our player? Player. When we call this, we want to send it in our player number as well. Okay? So we'll say, we'll just start by saying if player num equals 1. If it's the first player that's sending it in, then we'll check the first player stuff. If the first player is sending it in, check the first player's UI or power up UI and assign. So if player num equals 1, then check the left one. Let's see if the left one. We say if L power up 1. L power up 1 dot sprite is not equal to null. If there's nothing in this, let's just actually check if it's enabled or not, because it shouldn't be enabled. So we put an exclamation mark and we say if it's not enabled, if the power up 1 image is not enabled, then that means that it is not full. It doesn't have anything in it. Okay, so then we'll say lPowerUp1.sprite. I think that we can assign a sprite even though it's disabled. Let's check it out. Equals pickup sprite. Else, if it is enabled, then we'll check if the right one isn't. So else, let's actually go into the else and say if right PowerUp one dot enabled, if that's not enabled, so this one we'll say if this is enabled, that means that it's full. So go over to the right one, and if the right one is not full, then right PowerUp one dot sprite equals pickup sprite. Okay, this is just for player one, and so check the left PowerUp. If it's not full, assign it. Else, if it is full, check the right one. If that's not full, then assign it. And if the right one is full, if the right PowerUp is full, send a message that you're full. And for that, we'll just print to the console and say print full of power-ups. Cool. This is fairly repetitive, unfortunately, so we're going to have to do the same thing for player 2. For player 2 picking up things, but let's just test if this works for now. This is just for visually showing it, by the way. This is not anything for, playing, gameplay-wise. That we'll have to set up in the player script. So we're playing, I'm running around, I picked up this glove, something happened. I think it assigned it. Yeah, it did. It did assign it, but it didn't turn it back on. So this actually has to turn on. That's what we forgot. Okay, it equals the pickup sprite, and then say lPowerUp1.enabled equals true. Okay, actually enable it. And this one is rPowerUp1. Okay. So let's make 2 gloves. So that actually, let's make 3 gloves to test if it'll go in the first slot, the second slot, and the dead slot, or the full slot. Okay, so we'll duplicate it, we'll put it over here, and we'll put it over here. We got a lot of nice gloves. Press and play. I'm going to walk around. We got this glove, it's there. This glove is there. And this one, it says full of power-ups. Okay, so theoretically this works a-okay. Again, for the 3rd time, this is not practicality. Right now I can't actually use those power-ups, but maybe someday I can. And I could do something like put a little UI element down there. Where's an image that looks like the Xbox X button, and make it really small and bring it down to like right there. Or maybe we'll bring it to the corner. How about that? We'll put it in the corner. Sure, let's put it in the corner. There we go. Maybe we want to do like 1010. Just so maybe that's the X button, and we'll duplicate that, put it on this one, and this will be the Y button. Yep, Y. Okay, and this will be at 1010. Great. In another video, I can go over how to get the player to actually use these things. It's going to be a little tricky, but we'll do our best. So for now, I would say what you learned in this video is how to make a power-up. Just duplicate an old one and drop it on the, duplicate an old one, put it into your prefabs, and change the sprite. And then this will work with different sprites. We made it work for different sprites. So let's say this one, we don't want this to be a glove power-up. We want this to be like a speed power-up. I'm going to click it, drag it down, and then I'm going to change its sprite to like, let's say like a feather, maybe. I think a feather would be a nice speed. Yeah, let's use that. Sprites, sprites, sprites. There we go. Okay, let's change this one to feather. And it's gigantic, so we have to do the same thing we did here, which is 300. Great. So now we have the speed power up right here. And that's not a great power up icon, but whatever. No big deal. Now if I were to press play and join the game with my player, we can see that if I get the glove, it assigns it. If I get the speed power up, it assigns that to us. Okay? And then later on, what we're going to want it to do is if you press X, it'll activate the speed power up, and if you press Y, it'll activate, oh no, vice versa. If you press X, it'll activate the glove power up. If you press Y, it'll activate the speed power up. And that's a lot more programming that we're not going to cover right now. All right, cool. Thanks for watching. Bye.